Hello my beautiful magical beings, it is Dragon Slayer 15 here, and today guys, we are going to be continuing Bakugou X Traumatized Listener, and this is part 2, and just a quick trigger warning here guys, this episode does include mentions of different kinds of abuse, and if you guys aren't comfortable with that, you can click out of the video and just stay tuned for the next one. Or if you want to watch this video for context, that's fine. Alright, without further ado, let's get into this, shall we? He walked swiftly through the crowd, his eyes fixed on one spot. One person. He had been looking for you for months. And he finally found you. Wait, who's that guy you were with? He didn't recognize you. It didn't matter. You were all that he needed. You and Bakugou were walking through an outdoor shopping center, passing shop after shop after shop. You guys were just browsing around, a lot of them, but some of the things you actually wanted to go in and check out. "I'll be right back," Bakugou said, as the two of you walked down the street past the shop. He turned and walked inside. The two of you were on a date of sorts. It had been a couple weeks since the incident, and since then, Bakugou had apologized and offered to take you out as a bit of compensation. And since that incident, the two of you had started to get to know each other for a little bit, and you began to feel more and more confident whenever you were around him. And you could feel what you thought were feelings. You were catching more and more feelings every time you hung out. And you felt like your goodness was actually rubbing off on him, and he was trying to be a better person. You watched him as he turned into the store, and you walked over and sat down on a small bench to wait. You pulled out your phone and started scrolling through your social media, when out of the corner of your eye, you spotted someone walking toward you. You looked up, and you saw a guy that didn't look much older than the two of you. "May I sit down?" he asked politely, and you answered back with a equally polite yes, and moved over so he could sit down. After a couple minutes, he glanced at you. Then you looked over. Once he knew you caught him staring, he turned back and was facing the other way. Then, out of nowhere, he said, "You know, you're really attractive," he said in a honeyed tone. "Uh-huh. You don't even know me. Why are you trying to hit on me?" you said, annoyed. "Hey, come on. Your boyfriend's not around." You stared at him wide-eyed, assuming he was talking about Bakugou. "He's not my boyfriend. We're just hanging out as friends, you know?" "Uh-huh, sure, like a friend would take another friend to a shopping center." "Hey, he is my friend. It doesn't matter if he's a guy or not. Who cares?" you said, even more annoyed. "Whatever." And the two of you went silent for a couple more minutes. Then you felt him lay his hand on your upper thigh. You didn't panic, and for some reason, you just kind of zoned out for a second. Then you realized what he was doing, and he moved his hand away. "Oh, come on." "What? What do you want?" he said. "You're the one who's trying to make advances towards me," you said, through clenched teeth. "Whatever, Cupcake," he said, and you froze. Cupcake? Was he? No, it couldn't have been him, right? But then, the man got up, and he walked in front of you. And he leaned over, and he pressed his hands on the back of the bench. "Come on, Cupcake. Let's go back home. You missed me, right?" You stared at him right in the face. It was him, your ex. You never wanted to see him again. But it didn't matter. You stood up and shoved him out of the way and began to walk in the opposite direction to the shop that Bakugou had gone into. Suddenly you felt a rough hand grasp your arm. You begin to panic slightly. Then you look this man directly in the eye. You were absolutely certain that this was him. You recognized the shape of his face, his eye color, everything. Your fight or flight response was triggered, but instead of running, a shot of adrenaline flooded your system, and when in one fluid motion, your fist made contact with the side of his head, and he stumbled backward in surprise. You turned to run inside the store, but he sprung at you and grabbed your wrists, just like he had always done, and just like Bakugou had done a couple weeks prior. Then, in that moment, everything went mute. There was an eardrum-shattering ringing in your ears, so loud you couldn't hear yourself scream. It was like you were floating above your body, surveying this awful scene, unable to stop or do anything. You landed on the ground with a thud, your hands and knees breaking your fall. The pain of the scrapes in your knees and in your hands snapped you back into reality. What happened? You thought as you looked around, perplexed. You saw Bakugou had pinned your ex to the ground, one hand set alight, his nitroglycerin sweat creating an explosion. You sat there dazed and confused, and watched as Bakugou leaned his head down to your ex's ear and mumbled something. You couldn't really hear, but you could hear two words. Kill you. Then you got an idea that made you giddy. What if he did die? It made you happy to think about that. After Ijiro had found you that fateful day, you had taken your ex to court, and you were absolutely infuriated when he didn't get the death penalty for what he had done to you. But now, when you thought about it, you were elated. Could he die? Could you finally be at peace with him dead? Then, the sound of footprints running in the other direction brought you back into reality, and Bakugou was standing over you. Are you okay? He said and helped you up to your feet. You nodded and said, I'm fine. Don't worry. And Bakugou led you back over to the bench where the two of you sat down. Are you sure you're okay? He said, concerned. I'm fine. Really, I am. So, if I may ask, Bakugou said, and you turned to wait for his question. Who was that guy? You were a little surprised to hear him ask about it. Well, he was my abusive ex from a couple years ago. He said, do you want the long version of the story or the short one? Bakugou said that he would prefer the short one, if going into detail made you too uncomfortable. So, you told him. You told him that how, when you had first met your ex, he seemed nice and everything went well for a couple of years. Then, he started to get clingy, and not in a good way. And he started to control every little thing about you. He began to manipulate you. He made you feel like trash all the time. Then, the verbal violence turned physical, very quickly. And after the physical violence wasn't enough, he started doing things to you. And when Bakugou heard it, you saw him clench his fist. An expression of fury and anger spread across his face. That little prick. I'll freaking kill him, Bakugou said, and rose quickly to his feet. You grabbed his arm. Don't. It's fine. I've let it go, you said, and pulled him back down. Bakugou sighed. I'm sorry. I just can't imagine somebody doing something like that to you. What? He said, confused. Well, listener, You're amazing. You're funny, smart, attractive. There's so many things about you that I've come to really like, and I don't understand how somebody like him could do that. And Bakugo stopped mid-sentence. You could see his face turning pink, and you giggled. What, are you embarrassed? You're giving me compliments. I don't mind. Bakugo covered his face. It's nothing. Just, let's go, he said, and got up and began to walk back toward the parking lot. You shrugged and got up and followed him. He didn't really mind, since you were kind of done shopping anyways. But on the way back to his car, all you could think about was, what if your ex did die? Would you do it? Would somebody else do it for you? Then you got into thinking about ways you could do it. How? What kind of method would you use to kill him? But then Bakugo struck up another conversation with you. So, remind me again. You and Ijiro are twins, but you don't have the same quirk? He said, confused. Yep, that's right, he said, as you got into his car. But what quirk do you have? You rolled your eyes. You really don't know what my quirk is? You said, well, no, I don't. Well, my quirk is called Animorph. I can basically turn into any animal of any size, and, well, I'm free to do with that as I wish, I guess. I'm not really sure. So, what's your favorite animal to turn into? He said, turning around. I prefer to be kind of small, really. Huh. Bakugo started the car, and you drove away from the small shopping center. But then your thoughts returned to this morbid idea. Could you kill your ex? Was it possible? Would you actually go through with it? Then, an idea came to you. You could kill him and make a spectacle out of it. It would be perfect. And that sorry excuse for a human being unfit to walk this earth would finally know what fear was like. And guys, that's where I'm gonna have to leave it with this. Oh my gosh, this took forever to come out, and I am so sorry for the wait. And please excuse the mistakes and me stumbling over my words, because the rest of this I did without a script. But anyways, stay tuned for the next video, and I love you guys, and you know what? Thank you for almost 666 subscribers, and well, I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye!